Severe's home, and as Thjalfi, Severe's son, has explained to Harold, the one that was scrapping with Heimdall is Loki. The big red-haired one next to him is Thor. The old man, the wanderer, is Odin, and the fat one is Frey. The household was going to bed as a conversation between Heimdall and Harold begins. We'll be starting on page 18 at about mid-page, where Heimdall says, "I also heard you tell Thjalfi." Do you have that, Rocky? Or Rust?
Yes.
Great. Let's begin.
I also heard you tell Thjalfi that you are no warlock, but you know not what it means. You must be from far. However, few are sorry for that. I'll keep your secret. A joke on the master of deception. Oh. And now, child of an ignorant mother, it is yet to be seen that you have knowledge of strange things. I propose that we amuse ourselves with a game of questions. Each shall ask of the other 7 questions, and he who answers best shall be adjudged the winner. Ask, mortal.
7 questions. Shay considered a moment how he could make them yield him the most information.
Where is Odin gone?
1. He has gone to the gates of hell to summon from her grave a woman centuries dead.
Did you say hell? Honest?
It is not to be doubted.
Oh, well, you don't say so.
Shay was covering his own incredulity and confusion. This man, God individual, was more difficult than any psychopathic he had ever questioned. He gathered his mental forces for the next try.
What is Odin doing that for?
True. The time is coming. Baldur dies, and the Aesir need advice. The Wanderer believes that the Spaewife buried at the great gates of hell can tell us what we need to know.
The vaguely ominous statements about the time were beginning to get on Shay's nerves. He asked,
What is meant by the statement, the time is coming?
3. Ragnarok, as all men know. All men but you alone, dewy-eyed innocent.
What's Ragnarok?
4. The end of the world, babe in a man's body.
Shay's temper stirred. He didn't like this elaborate ridicule, and he didn't think it fair of Heimdall to count his last question, which had been merely a request to explain an unfamiliar word in the previous answer. But he had met irritatingly irrelevant replies at the Garden Institute and managed to keep himself under control.
When will all this happen?
5. Not men, or gods, or Vanas, or even the dwarfs know, but it will be soon. Already the Fimbulwinter, the winter and summer that precedes Ragnarok, is upon us.
They all say there's going to be a battle. Who will win?
Shay was proud of himself for that question. It covered both the participants and the result.
6. Gods and men were glad to have the answer to that, Ilwyn, since we shall stand together against the giant folk. But for the present, there is this to be said. Our chances are far from good. There are 4 weapons of great power among us. Odin's spear, Gungnir, the hammer of Thor that is called Mjolnir, Frey's sword, the magic blade Hundingsbana, and my own good sword which bears the name of Hed. But some of the giants, we do not know how or who, have stolen both the great hammer and Frey's sword. Unless they are recovered, it may be that gods and men will drink of death together.
Shay realized with panic that the world whose destruction Heimdall was so calmly discussing was the one in which he, Harold Shay, was physically living. He was at the mercy of a system of events he could not escape.
What can I do to keep from getting caught up in the gears?
He demanded, and then seeing Heimdall look puzzled.
I mean, if the world's going to bust up, how can I keep out of the smash?
Heimdall's eyebrows went up.
Ragnarok is upon us. Let not gods know how to avoid, and you, son of man, think of safety. The answer is nothing. And now, this is your seventh question, and it is my turn to ask of you.
But I've got...
Child of earth, you weary me.
He stared straight into Shay's eyes, and once more there was that sensation of an icicle piercing his brain. But Heimdall's voice was smooth.
From which of the 9 worlds do you come, strangest of strangers, with garments like to none I have seen?
Shay thought. The question was a little like, have you quit? Oh, not sure who's saying that.
I think that's yours.
Okay, I'll give that to you again. Shay thought. The question was a little like, have you quit beating your wife? He asked cautiously.
Which 9 worlds?
Heimdall laughed lightly.
Oh, I thought I was to be the questioner here. But there is the abode of the gods is Asgard, and that is one world, and the homes of the giants, that are Jotunheim, Muspelheim, Niflheim, and Hel, or 5 worlds in all. There is Alfheim, where live the dwarves, and Svartalfheim, and Vanaheim, which we do not know well, though it is said that the Vanas shall stand with us at the time. Lastly, there is Midgard, which is overrun with such ones as you.
Shay yawned. The mead and warmth were beginning to pull upon him.
To tell the truth, I don't come from any of them, but from outside your system of worlds entirely.
A strange answer is that, yet not so strange, but it could be true. For I can see the 9 worlds from where I sit, and nowhere such a person as yourself. Say nothing of this to the other Aesir, and above all to the Wanderer. He would take it ill to hear that there was a world in which he held no power. Now, I will ask my second question. What men or gods rule this world of yours?
Shay found himself yawning again. He was too tired for explanations, and flipped off his answer.
Well, some say one class and some say another, but the real rulers are called traffic cops. They pinch you for like the slightest offense. I mean,
Are they then some form of crabfish?
No, they pinch you for moving too fast, whereas a crab pinches you for moving too slowly.
Still, they are sea gods, I perceive, like my brother Aesir. What is their power?
Shay fought a losing battle against another yawn.
Sorry, I seem to be sleepy. Aren't you going to bed soon, Golden?
Me? Oh, seldom has such ignorance been seen at the crossroads of the world. I am the watcher of the gods, and never sleep. Sleepless one is, indeed, another of my titles. But it is to be seen that it is otherwise with you, youngling, and since I have won the game of questions, you may go to bed.
An angry retort rose to Shay's lips at his calm assumption of victory, but he remembered that icy glare in time. Heimdall, however, seemed able to read his mind.
What, you would argue with me? Off to bed, and remember our little plot against the bringer of discord. Henceforth you are Turnip Harold, the bold and crafty warlock.
Shay risked just one more question.
What is a warlock? Please, sir?
Child from another world, your ignorance is higher than a mountain and deeper than a well. A warlock is a wizard, an enchanter, a weaver of spells, a raiser of spirits. Good night, Turnip Harold.
The bedroom proved to have a sliding door. Shay found it no bigger than a Pullman section and utterly without ventilation. The bread was straw-stuffed and jabbed him. He could not find comfort. After an hour or so of tossing, he had the experience, not uncommon on the heels of a day of excitements, of finding himself more wide awake than in the beginning. For a time his thoughts floated aimlessly. Then he told himself that, since this was an experiment, he might as well spend the sleepless hours trying to assemble results. What were they? Well, firstly, that there had been an error either in the equations or his use of them, and he had been pitched into a world of Scandinavian mythology, or else Scandinavian history. He was almost prepared to accept the former view. These people talked with great conviction about their Ragnarok. He was enough of a psychologist to recognize their sincerity, and that icy stare he had felt from Odin and then Heimdall was something, so far as he knew, outside ordinary human experience. It might be a form of hypnosis, but he doubted whether the technique, or even the idea of hypnotism, would be known to ancient Viking chiefs. No, there was something definitely more than human about them. Yet they had enough human attributes as well. It ought not to be beyond the powers of an experimental psychologist to guide his conduct by analyzing them a little and making use of the results. Odin? Well, he was off to the gates of hell, whither Shay had no desire to follow him. Not much to be made of him anyway, save a sense of authority. What about Loki? A devastatingly sharp tongue that indicated a keen mind at work. Also a certain amount of malice. Uncle Fox, Thialfi had called him, and said he was fond of jokes. Shay told himself he would not be surprised to find the jokes were often of a painful order. Working for him might be difficult, but Shay smiled to himself as he thought how he could surprise the god with so simple an object as a match. Frey he had hardly noticed. Thor apparently was no more than a big good-natured bruiser, and Thialfi, the kind of rustic one would find in any country town, quoting Eddic lays instead of the Bible. Heimdall, however, was a more complex character, certainly lacking in Loki's sense of humor, but also in the malice that was the basis of that humor. And he quite evidently felt he had a position of dignity to maintain with relation to the common herd, as witnessed his insistence on titles. But equally evidently he was prepared to accept the responsibilities of that position, throw himself heart and soul, and with quite a good mind, into the right side of the scales, as Loki was not. Perhaps that was why he hated Loki. And Heimdall, underneath the shell of dignity, had a streak of genuine kindness. One felt one could count on him, and deciding he liked Heimdall the best of the lot, Shay turned over and went to sleep.
Shall we go on another page? This isn't really a cliffhanger.
Sure.
There's a better cliffhanger, just one page up.
Okay, sure. So this is 4. Shay woke with a set of fur-bearing teeth and a headache that resembled the establishment of a drug-forging plant inside his brain. Whether from the mead or the effect of those 2 piercing glances he had received from Heimdall and Odin, he could not tell. It was severe enough to stir him to a morning-after resolution to avoid all 3 in the future. When the panel of his bedroom slid back, he could hear voices from the hall. Thor, Loki, and Thialfi were at breakfast as he came in, tearing away with knives and fingers at the stakes the size of unabridged dictionaries. The foxy-faced Loki greeted him cheerfully.
Hail, hero of the turnip fields. Will your lordship do us the honour of breakfasting with us?
He shoved a wooden platter with a hunk of meat on it toward Shay and passed along one of a collection of filled mugs. Shay's mouth was dry, but he almost gagged when a pull at the mug showed it contained beer, and sour beer at that. Loki laughed.
Ridiculous it is to see the children of men, who have no fixed customs, grow uneasy when customs about them change. Harold of the Turnips, I am told you are a notable warlock.
Shay looked at his plate.
I know one or two tricks.
It was only to be expected that a hero of such unusual powers would be modest. Now, there is this to be said. A man fares ill at Ragnarok unless he have his place. Would you be one of my band at the time?
Shay gulped. He was still unconvinced about this story of a battle and the end of the world, but he might as well ride with the current till he could master it.
Yes, sir, and thank you.
The worm consents to ride on the eagle's wings. Thank you, most gracious worm. Then I will tell you what you must do. You must go with us to Jotunheim, and that will be a hard journey.
Shay remembered his conversation with Heimdall the night before.
Isn't that where some of the giants live?
The frost giants, to be exact. That lying, sleepless one claims to have heard Thor's hammer humming somewhere in their castle, and for all of us it will be well to find that weapon. But we shall need whatever we possess of strength and magic in the task, unless, Lord Turnip-eater, you think you can recover it without our help.
Shay gulped again. Should he go with them? He had come looking for adventure, but enough was enough.
What is adventure?
He remembered reading somewhere with the answer.
Somebody else having a hell of a tough time 1,000 miles away.
Only.
This is our cliffhanger here. Yeah. So let's move on to the defenders.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Very good.